they want to go from K through 12 to corporate or to higher ed, something like that. But they're just scared of how to do that. Or I have students that are just, apprehensive. They're not sure how to go about that. And they think that and I used to be this way too, to be honest. I thought my things had to be perfect and polished. And that's how
Yeah.
my students are too. They're like, it has to be this way. And I'm like, just focus on what it is that you're learning, like the craft of it, and the rest will come later, right? The polished
Absolutely.
stuff will come later. Yeah, it's just focusing on the models, the theories, how to put them into practice, and the technical tools, and then all of it will follow later on. You'll get that in your train, when you go into your training and when you are on the job. So it all comes in time. So I try to ease their mind a little bit with that, and it helps usually because they think they
It
have to
does.
know it all. I'm like, no, you
Yeah.
don't have to.
And the thing is, you can seek for that mentor. I mean, I was formerly provided a mentor in this position, and that's my go-to person. Like I don't know how to make this tool do this, or I don't know how to fix this timing, or whatever.
Right.
You've got, oftentimes, if you join a learning and development team, you're going to be introduced to someone who's been doing it for a long time. And that learning process will just continue, as you get into the job. And as long as you've got the basics down and you've got that intuition down, because that's the part that's hard to teach, right? It's hard to
Right.
teach somebody to have that intuition about how people learn. And that really ties back to, if you have been a teacher, if you've been in education, you just have that intuition. It's just built into, what you've done over years. And that's the hard part to teach. Teaching somebody how to use a tool like Camtasia, that's the easy part. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And the tools keep changing over time. Technology, we always have to keep up with it. So it's
Yeah.
going to be a constant learning curve, I think. Just when you think, oh, I've mastered this tool and I know how to use Camtasia now and I know all the bells and whistles, and then they go and change the user interface, or they go and add a feature or something, or how you utilize that feature. So I always tell my students too, don't get married to these these different tools too much. Yes, it's good to know it, but just know that something's gonna change along the way. A button may move, or a feature may change.
Right.
It's important to know it, but don't get so engrossed in it that all of a sudden it changes and it feels like it rocks your world, because like, oh no, it
Yeah.
changed. Now what do I do?
Yeah. Or your company decides not to pay for the license anymore and you got to use a different one.
Right.
You
Oh
know,
yes.
you just never know. You just never
Exactly.
know.
Yep. Yeah. When I worked at PetSmart and I was doing a contract job, they were moving all their e-learning from Captivate to Articulate 360. And I was like,
Hmm.
that's a big shift. That's a big change,
Oh,
because
yes.
they didn't want to have Captivate anymore and they were switching over. Or sometimes I've seen it vice versa, where they had Articulate and it was too expensive and then they decided to move to Captivate. And so those two programs, as we all know, are not the same, and they're
No.
very different from each other. And you can't just copy and paste, or move that project file over and just plop it into the other tool and then voila, it's okay. You have to do a lot of work. So yeah, so
Yeah.
it's yeah, so important. That's a good point, Jessica. I love that. You just never
Yeah.
know. They may be like, yep, we don't want this tool anymore, it's too expensive, or it's out of our budget. Priorities can change in the corporate world so fast. So yeah,
That's
from
for
year to
sure.
year. Yep, absolutely.